Bonjour, and today let me show you how to form l'indicatif futur simple in French, a well-important tense of Flaubert's language. You'll find that it is quite easy to conjugate verbs in this tense, and as for how to use it, bear with me because we'll shine a light on a common trap that most people, including French native speakers, including anyone in Paris speaking the language natively, have a tendency to fall into. So if you're ready and if you're willing, let's fire this lesson away. Today, as you can see on screen, we're going to learn how to form the indicative future simple and how to use it. Point A, how to form it. We have three groups of verbs in French. You know that. ER verbs, IR verbs, RE verbs. And here, it's quite easy to form this tense as opposed to many other ones where you have to find out what the root of the verb is, what the stem of the verb is, etc., etc. Here, you take the verb, the entire verb, right? Like dessiner means to draw. You take the entire verb and that counts as the stem. It works majority of the time. So you just take this block that is the verb in itself, the verb in the infinitive form, and you add the ending. Je dessinerai, tu dessineras, il, elle, on dessinera, nous dessinerons, vous dessinerez, ils, elles dessineront. And watch out here for the pronunciation of ré. You know, the other day I heard a student say, vous dessinerez? And I went like, no, you mean vous dessinerez. And then the student went like, no, it's vous dessinerez. And I was like, you may be right, you may be wrong, but I believe it's dessinerez. And, you know, because I'm a native French speaker. So these things are important to know. Sometimes it's very common in French. When you have 2 or 3 letters that form a single sound, you have to identify that combination as a single sound. Easy is E, the sound E. And so we have here just how to form it. It's pretty easy. Dessiner, you take the verb as a whole, the infinitive verb, you add the ending, it's done, right? It's old news. Same applies for verbs of group 2. Agir, which means to act, pretty nice verb. Agir, j'agirai, tu agiras, il, elle, on agira. Nous agirons, vous agirez, ils, elles agiront. And group 3 verbs is slightly different here. To surprise, surprendre, surprendrai. As you can see here, surprendre, the infinitive, has an E at the end, but here the E disappears. So when you have that kind of verb and you spot that it's a group 3 verb, and then it ends with an E, you know, you can just assume that the E is going to disappear and add the ending, the corresponding future simple ending immediately to that, and then you'll get the future simple, and that's how it goes. Surprendrai, tu surprendras, il, elle, on surprendra, nous surprendrons, vous surprendrez, ils, elles surprendront. And now, theoretically, you can form the future simple pretty easily in French. So the steps are, you take the verb as it is, the infinitive verb, dessiner, parler, manger, any verb. If it works for group 1, you take the verb as a whole, and then you add the ending. And those are pretty easy to remember, I believe. They are pretty common. You know, we have the ONS for the first person of the plural form. We have the EZ for the second person of the plural form. It's pretty predictable. AS for the second person of the singular form. Group 1 verbs easy. Group 2 verbs easy. Group 3 verbs slightly more difficult. You have to say goodbye to the E that ends the verb. And then add the ending. So that was for the first part of this lesson. And now let's take a closer look at the uses of the simple future. Because I told you about this horrible mistakes that even native French speakers do. And it's everything to do with this part. The fact that most people are gonna mistake the future simple with the near future or le futur proche. Not really nuancing the two of them. So, use A of this tense is to express a possibly distant or hypothetical future action. Je téléphonerai à ma belle-mère plus tard, which is I'll call my mother-in-law later. I'll call her later. It's something that is distant, hypothetical, not very enthusiastic action either. Je téléphonerai à ma belle-mère plus tard. I'll call my mother-in-law later. As opposed to je vais téléphoner à ma belle-mère plus tard. Je vais téléphoner à ma belle-mère like tonight, ce soir. I'm calling my mother-in-law tonight. This is much more decisive. This thing is going down. It's happening. There will be a phone call with the mother-in-law. But, here, future simple, it will be later. It's not clear as to when it will happen. It is going to happen probably, but there's not a lot of momentum there. Okay? Another example is, we'll think about this problem another time. Nous penserons à ce problème another time, une autre fois. And here, as you can see, the verb to think, we just took the infinitive verb and added the ending. It's very easy to form, right? Penser, to think, we added ONS. Nous penserons à ce problème another time. But, nous allons penser à ce problème ce soir. We are thinking about this problem tonight. This is much more decisive. This is another future tense I will cover in another video, of course. This is the future simple tense of the indicative mode in this video. And those were two good examples of something possibly distant or hypothetical. Another use is predictions about the future. And here, in English, we would use the simple present tense. When we are on Mars, we'll eat a Mars chocolate bar. Quand nous serons sur Mars, when we are, simple tense, simple present tense. But here, quand nous serons, future simple in French. Slightly different. Quand nous serons sur Mars, nous mangerons une barre chocolatée Mars. And, that is a nuance. It's probably not as common as the first type of use that we covered earlier, but it is worth noticing that there is a difference here. So we covered two different uses of the future simple, which differs from the futur proche, okay, that I made a few examples about that. And I'd like to finish this lesson with this. This is a surprise addition to this lesson because I forgot. I forgot to cover that earlier. So we can still cover it. It's still time. We have a second chance. Remember that the auxiliary verbs are irregular in French. They're very, very irregular. So we need to study them whenever you come across a new tense. And here you can see the simple future form of these two auxiliary verbs. Avoir, to have, will be j'aurai, tu auras, il, elle, on aura. Nous aurons, vous aurez, ils, elles auront. And you're going to need those when you're going to form the futur antérieur, which is another cool tense. I love the futur antérieur. You have no idea how much I love this tense. We will have done this by tomorrow, for example. This is that tense I'm talking about here. Le futur antérieur. Well, you're going to need that. You're going to need those auxiliary verbs in the future simple to make that tense later. So we need to lay that solid future foundation before we can access the more exciting tense, the futur antérieur. And for the to be verb, it will be je serai, tu seras, il, elle, on sera. Nous serons, vous serez, ils, elles seront. Let's wrap it up. We covered how to form the future simple tense in this lesson. 3 groups of verbs. We take the infinitive verb, we add the ending, And for group 2 verbs that end with an E, we remove the E and we add the ending. Clear. Of course, the auxiliary verbs are irregular. You need to study them. Very important in the future simple for this lesson. And different uses. Watch out not to make the mistakes that I hear even a lot of French native speakers make. You know, and they say, je vais manger plus tard. You know, and which means like I'm eating later or I eat later. It doesn't work. You need to say I will eat later. Okay? Je mangerai plus tard. But je vais manger plus tard doesn't make sense. There's a problem. It doesn't synchronize properly. And the reason why that is because you need to use the future simple when this is a possibly distant or hypothetical future action. And the second example, a bit less common, but yet very relevant for this lesson, predictions about the future, where in English we would use the simple tense, simple present tense. But in French, we will use the future simple for that same example. When we are on Mars, quand nous serons sur Mars, which wraps up this lesson. Down below is a link towards the exercise connected to this lesson. Do the exercise. And once you've got the future simple taped, you will have access to a myriad of temporal possibilities that weren't available to you before in French, of course, and you'll be able to form cool tenses also from there. Is it exciting? I think so. And now it's your turn. So you know what to do. See you next time.